Don't worry about it.
Any last words?
Yeah, have a good stand.
You going, Joe?
Okay, Tom.
All right. One for Buck, huh?
One for Buck.
Yeah, right on. A swim for Buck.
It'll be better when the lights out. Let's do it.
Oh, you got your window gear on, huh? Let's go, Noah.
A place where all are equal, where words speak not for deeds.
The cold is all around us, its penalties our soul, and thus we toil oblivious to our body's warning code.
Chill is ever present in this cold December air, and so we do not listen to the warnings that is there.
Hope is for a current, a gentle flooding tide that will give to all the swimmers an oceanic ride.
Instead, our bay betrays us, and the weather plays its tricks. We find we move so slowly as the clock beats out its ticks.
Time is now the barrier as coldness takes its toll. We have precious fleeting minutes to make it to the cove.
The bets are on the table, the dice gleam black and white as the legendary Reaper begins his deadly swipe.
Drum roll, please.
And now
he faced the moment. He was up against the wall. The water was relentless. It was lapping at his crawl.
His legs
had lost their power. He could hardly move his arms. And for just one fleeting moment, he thought he'd bought the farm.
Cold had numbed his reason as he grabbed his muni fear. He knew the tide was ebbing, and his chances were not clear.
He had no glimpse of history, nor his past life in parade. He had one single vision of the shore that must be made. Single vision.
Oh, yeah. And so he kept on struggling, and his body cooled down. He reached his slimy mooring to rest and look around.
He saw another rest point through the early morning mist. He lunged and swam to reach it, and he grabbed it with his fist.
Now his memory fails him. There is nothing he recalls, not the hope to keep on living or the words to end this clause.
And now that fate has cast him adrift and floating free upon his treasured waters in his mother's boundless sea.
It is time for a decision, to be or not to be. His will is for survival. It pleads for his reprieve.
So those who sit in judgment over human destiny looked down with kindly favor as they heard his timeless plea.
His spirit took the rostrum to plead his final cause, to evoke a striking image, to make the judges pause.
And with judicious temper, they heard a cogent case. This life must not be wasted. They should bestow their grace.
With wisdom and compassion, and a touch of irony, they hold his floating spirit should not be left too free.
Thus it was decided they would not call his number. The gift of life he would enjoy, to see another summer.
And at his next perception, he is in the womb again. A heat that's all embracing, a warmth beneath the skin. I can't see.
Soon he starts to wonder how it came to be that he rests in gentle slumber instead of floating in the sea.
It appears there is a giant, a dolphin of some fame, and a reverend local artist. Bill Horgos is his name.
And then there is a woman, a biologist at her job. She loves to swim bay waters. Her name is Susan Cobb.
On this fateful morning, they come to swim the bay. Bill does his double cove,
but she coaxes him to stay.
And on their second round trip, as they approach the floating flag, it's Susan who first sees him, afloat but listing bad.
Phil comes to the rescue. He pulls him to the land. Susan sprints back to the club to get a helping hand.
Now life takes on new meaning for this man whom fate has spared. The trilling finch rings clearer, the sunrise does not glare.
The face of human failing, the throes of catastrophe, the joy of life revisited, the rush of victory.
Let's do the last two stanzas together.
Okay.
In unison. All these have dimensions, they have contours seldom seen, but to this reborn spirit, it is mystery what they mean. There can be no denying to whom he owes each day, to Susan's salty yearnings, to Bill's eccentric play.
Yay, Good job, you guys.
Wow, it's awesome. It is really awesome.
Yeah. And as we say in my corner of the country, his memory is a blessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Abba Shalom.
Well, and Buddhists, I think this is, how many days left? I think this is the 49th day for Buck's death. This is the time that he's in Bardo in Buddhist philosophy. So it's kind of appropriate that we're ending up on this day.
Yeah.
What does that mean in Buddhist? I have no idea. As a recovered Catholic, it's actually the spirit wandering and deciding where it's going to go. And in Catholic philosophy, it would be purgatory. You know, it's like so it's about the spirit.
Not purgatory.
You mean the place that's Catholic philosophy? Limbo. There was a time, some 30 plus years ago, that we decided we were going to swim from Gas House, and I forget whose van it was. It wasn't Dan Macarini's, it was a white van. And Bert Huffman was with us, and as we were heading over to Gas House, in those days we just started to have a pilot sometimes. And Mary Pat Berry was a pilot, and we didn't see the storm coming in. Mary Pat took off with her kayak and almost capsized at the mouth and turned around and came back. We didn't know that. And so on the way to Gas House, Bert said, let's go to Stairway, which is out by the Marina Green, basically. So we went down there. It was difficult to get in, and we didn't have lights in those days. And as soon as we got in, the storm hit, and huge waves came in. Nobody saw anything. And as Norbert says, we have the illusion of safety when we go in with each other sometimes, and that's what happened that day. And we were just, and the tide turned on us at the, probably right before, probably before we got to the Muni Pier. In those days, we didn't know that if you swam under Muni Pier, that it would be easier. So that's it.
And then they didn't.
Yeah.
What were you guys in the sauna?
Yeah, then there were two funny things that happened afterwards. When Buck was rescued, we got to the hospital. I had to call up his mom, and his mom said, "Why couldn't it have happened to you?" and the second funny thing was that Roper was on duty. Was in his sheriff. He was in his sheriff's outfit and we got out of the ambulance, and he comes up to me and he goes, "Pete," he said, "this could be the end of the Sunrisers." And at that time, we didn't even know Buck was going to be alive, let alone if he's brain dead or what, you know. So I go, "It could be the end of Buck, Bob."
Who pulled him out, Peter? Where did they find him? Who pulled him out?
Bill Horgos pulled him out, and Susan Cobb at the end of the pier. The last memory Buck had was coming into the cove, and we were frantic. We were running up and down, looking for him. We went out to the pier. Somebody went and drove out. We were coming out here. Somebody got in a boat and went out. And so we didn't see the ambulance until we were coming back, that he was outside.
When did you discover that he was missing?
As soon as we got in the shower, you know, how we're in the shower sometimes, and we go, "Hey, where's Kevin? Where's Alex?" You know, like we did the other day. And now when people ask that question, you get, well, we were worried then, you know, and it was just too long. And then we didn't even get warmed up. We just got on some of us were still in our swimming suits. A couple of people were dressed, and we headed out. So.
How long do you estimate he was in the water?
I don't know.
So they pulled him out to the beach, right?
They pulled him out to the beach, and they got him to the shower at the Dolphin Club. changed everything as far as rules were concerned. Buck was always kind of the forefront of everything. We used to have a first, lost and found, and on top of one of the lockers in the men's locker room. And it wasn't until Buck fell off the ladder or broke his arm that we changed the place. So as we didn't know what we were supposed to be doing safety-wise until Buck got hurt.
It's a leader.
Yeah.
And how much water had he swallowed?
His lungs were 3/4 full. In fact, your Aunt Janet was working at UCSF, and she went to hear a lecture about a month later, and she says, yeah, there was an interesting case recently. They used to think that when somebody's lungs were that full of salt water, they wouldn't survive. So apparently they're going to have to revise their theory. And I said, I don't think you should do it based on this one guy.
All right, so I'm going to play a tune for you guys. It's called Caberfrey Gubroth, which translates to Stag's Antlers Forever. I think that's fitting because Buck, right? And this is a type of music for bagpipes called pibroch, which is the oldest form of music for bagpipes, and it's based on like Hebrides, like chanting.
Nice job.
Thank you. Let's go for a swim.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the